In my last video about the shutdown, I suggested it would serve as a referendum on what kind of society South Africans want. And the results are in. South Africa has rejected the clown-in-chief. Over the past few days, I have tried to understand what South Africans think about the shutdown. I have read hundreds of tweets and listened to many interviews, and there appear to be two general opinions. One group felt the shutdown was a failure because the participation was lower than expected. And the second group thinks it was a massive success because it was not business as usual, so it succeeded in shutting down the country. However, I think we are missing the point. The success or failure of the shutdown should be judged only on one factor. Did it help the country? The EFF claims that they were shutting down the country to protest corruption, crime, unemployment, load shedding, and the failure of President Cyril Ramaphosa. In other words, the claim is that they wanted to help the people of South Africa. The EFF leader claims that they succeeded in shutting down the country.
And that's why scientifically, you should measure the success of this shutdown. Today, there is no big mall, there is no small mall, no shop, no factory, no school, no nothing is open today. All of them are closed.
Even if these statements by the so-called commander-in-chief were factual, that would not mean the shutdown was a success. Only that it has succeeded in serving the EFF's selfish agenda. And many claims are not true. For example, it's a blatant lie that no malls were open. How could anyone vote for someone who lies straight to your face? But the question must then be asked, how does shutting the country down help the country? Did the shutdown end load shedding? No. There is nothing wrong with protesting against load shedding. But a protest, in and of itself, cannot do anything to address the structural problems that cause load shedding. The only way to end load shedding permanently is for South Africa to vote for a competent government, which would mean voting out the ANC, the EFF, and anyone with similar ideological views. Did the shutdown remove Cyril Ramaphosa from office? No. I seldom agree with anything the president says, but he was right last week when he said he could only be removed by an election, not a protest. If we want to be a democracy, the ballot box is the place to express our outrage. Ramaphosa and the rest of the ANC should go. We should ensure they do at the next election. But we would be fools if we replaced them with an even worse party, like the EFF. Did the shutdown fight crime and corruption? No. This topic is where the EFF becomes nothing more than a joke. You cannot commit crimes to protest crime. We also need to ask why Monday was not business as usual. People did not stay home or close their businesses out of solidarity with the EFF, but out of fear of them. EFF's only political tool is chaos.
We are an organization of disciplined forces of the left which can shut down the country without burning a building.
The irony might be lost on many EFF supporters. Still, you cannot be serious about reducing crime if you use illegal means to protest it. And if you want to stand against corruption, the first place to start is with yourself. The EFF leader has 2 criminal cases pending against him. And many questions remain unanswered about his personal tax affairs and his time in the Limpopo government while still a member of the ANC. And the EFF leadership has many questions to answer about how VBS money flowed into their pockets and the coffers of the EFF. So, the EFF protesting corruption is as laughable as the ANC Secretary General telling us that the ANC is not corrupt. Did the shutdown address unemployment? Absolutely not. When foreign investors see that one man with a giant ego can bring the country to a standstill, they realize that South Africa is not a safe place to invest their money. Less investment means fewer new jobs. Anyone can figure this out, so the EFF went ahead with their shutdown, knowing it would harm job creation. Did it help black people achieve economic freedom? No. If anything, the poorest people are now worse off. The EFF claims to be freedom fighters out to liberate black people, but look at how they treat black communities.
Those protesters, the so-called EFF protesters, burnt some rubber tires and tried to block off access in and around this area. And this area here in Tembisa is called Winnie Mandela Zone 15.
This behavior should prove to everyone that the EFF does not care about black people. They are simply using desperate people to get themselves into a position of power. Black communities now have to deal with the devastation left in the wake of the EFF's self-promoting rampage. Clearly, the shutdown did not help South Africa or South Africans in any practical sense. The shutdown disrupted economic activity, caused fear and confusion, and cost the taxpayers millions of rand that should have been used for other things. So no, it did not serve the country at all. However, the shutdown was never intended to help South Africa. It was only ever meant to serve the agenda of the EFF. The shutdown was nothing more than an EFF election campaign that the entire country was forced to fund. It was never intended to help South Africa, but only elevate the EFF from political insignificance to the forefront of South African politics. The EFF know they do not have enough support to win power at the ballot box, but they have enough support to disrupt the country.
The economic freedom fighters proved once more who is in charge in this country. When you said to business, it's business as usual, open your shops, I said close. They closed. I'm in charge. I've got you by scrotum. There's nothing you can do, nothing. All of you combined. You can scream anyhow you want. Once more, I demonstrated to you black opposition, a white opposition with the ruling party combined. I'm in charge. And I want that to sink. You will tweet every day. You will call press conference every day. You will bring soldiers and police. Because the man in charge said shut down South Africa, and it was shut down.
The EFF leader's speech in the National Assembly perfectly explains why the shutdown took place. Because Julius Malema wants to have South Africa by the scrotum. He does not care about the destruction he causes, and he is only concerned about his own personal ambition. Malema believes he is now in charge because he can order his devoted followers to disrupt the lives of other South Africans. In other words, he can serve as our self-appointed dictator by sabotaging the country. He can skip being elected to power by using fear and intimidation to take control. He wants to be the man in charge, and it doesn't matter how he gets there, or how much damage he does to the country in the process. The next election is still a long way away. As we get closer to it, we can expect many more political stunts like this from the EFF. My advice to all South Africans is, if you want South Africa to prosper, and if you want personal economic freedom, then stay as far away from parties who infringe on the freedoms of others as possible. Make your vote count. Don't let your vote be used to serve the giant ego of a man who only cares about himself.